Wherever you are, all around the globe, listen. I can't tell you how excited I am to be on the road again in South Carolina with probably, I guess I could call him the Kevin Hart of the Christian world. I mean, is it Kevin or Seinfeld? I mean, he is one of the top comedians right now. I mean, JohnCrist is in the building. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. That tells you everything you need to know right there. As a black guy pronouncing him Seinfeld. That's how.
Did I say field?
Yeah, that's. He's like, I don't know anything about white comedy, but I think this is the guy they like. Wow. Dude.
Well, man, look, I'm excited to have you on the show. We're going to talk about some cool things. I'm going to throw to a song really quick. Now, you told me that your favorite artist was 50 Cent. Is that still...
I always...
50?
I always say that because the artists that you heard coming up in your formative years, you can never... Like, your favorite movie is never going to happen in your 30s.
Okay.
Your favorite movie always happened when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Because those feelings are like... When I first heard that, it took me to another place, dude. I'm telling you.
So 50?
Yeah,
was
50.
it Wankster? Well, look, I can't play Wankster, but I will play a little Lecrae. Maybe he's the 50 Cent of Christian.
I'm just happy. Like, I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been on the Average Story. I've been on Decent Story.
Right.
I'm just finally. It's good to be on finally the Greater Story. You know what I'm saying? It just feels so much better.
So it was Catalyst in Atlanta.
Yeah. That's where we met.
That's where we met. And this past year you killed it with Joseph Sojourner, right? You were hosting.
Had to.
And it was in the parking lot.
That's when it went down.
I said, "Who is this pretty white man?" What are your eyes? Are they blue? What are they?
Come on, dude. That's not for this podcast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Green. They're green.
Well, I had already seen your videos from the worship one where you kind of parody of worship songs, Aaron
Christian
Tuning.
music.
And I mean, some of your videos right now, I saw one today, 12.5 million views. On Facebook. I mean, you told me you don't market anything like ads.
I don't do nothing. No,
they just go viral. I mean, the millennial special.
Yeah, that one went big, man.
Like, you're on fire right now. What is the 20 city tour that we're at right now?
We're doing. I've been on the road. I'll be on the road probably all summer.
Yeah.
But the thing in terms of like the videos, everybody's like, how do you make a viral video? How do you get it to go? And I'm like, dude, I've literally been making videos since 2008. So I'm almost, if you want to see some of my earlier videos, you'd be like, I can see why that one would go by. You're like, nah, I'm good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I want to get into that a little bit later in terms of how you do it. We'll talk about creativity, all type of things.
Sure.
I want to know your story.
Okay.
We say around here all the time, when your story connects to God's story, it leads to a greater story.
Yeah.
And so we try to get people on the show that I feel like are living in the greater story. I mean, this didn't happen for you overnight.
Next level.
But
then why was Sojo on the show then? If it's, I'm saying. Okay, not just joking.
Man, what's your greater story? How did you get where you are now? Take me back to Lil J. Was it Lil J?
Okay, well, I grew up in the suburbs, a gated community, so we didn't have any Lil J names type. It was just Jonathan. That'd be fine.
Right.
Anyway.
Tell me the story. How did that happen?
There was no streets. There was sidewalks. There were well marked. There was crosswalks. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Now, I understand your dad was a pastor.
Yeah, so what I'm doing out here, basically, I do a lot of comedy clubs, a lot of churches, a lot of everything. So I try to describe it to somebody. So you come into church for the first time.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, this worship is touching me. This, the preaching is really connecting with me. My life is improved and changed, and you have this. But growing up in the church, as I have, and you've seen some of the inner workings of the church, right?
Sure,
and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
You see the worship leader up there leading people, but what I saw was behind when he goes, hey, is this too much gel in my hair? Do you think should I go this way? Or like, how does this light work with that's the part we see.
Right.
And so as a pastor's kid growing up in church, I see the front side.
Yeah.
And I'm also seeing the back side when they're completely different.
Wow.
Not in a
negative way.
Not in a negative way, but just like these are the sides you wouldn't see. Hey, this guy's passionate about this certain topic, but hey, like, I went to a church that had a $25 million debt on their building. What? Yeah, and you think the pastor is saying what he wants to say?
Yeah.
No, he's thinking about. I could be wrong, but I got 125 employees. If I'm going to come out like you, dude, the Old Testament, the letters to churches were just like, y'all are screwing up this way, this way. That was and now it's changing, like, hey, you're just so good, you're perfect, like, Jesus loves you, and you go out feeling good, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm basically trying to do in my stand-up is have this life and this life and kind of connect
merge
them. Yeah. So
wow.
like I got a joke in my act. It's one everybody loves. It goes, you ever had somebody ask you to pray for something so stupid you're just like, I ain't praying for that.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Right.
But that's not something you would hear from the stage, but that's what everyone in the crowd thinks. So
like,
how...
I'm not praying for your cat. Well, I'm not praying for it. Yeah. Because people love cats.
A dog maybe, but not a cat. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So how do we merge these two worlds together where the Lord is moving in people's lives, but we're still admitting that, hey,
wow,
like the biggest bit, the one that you were talking about that went viral it's called road rage in the church parking lot.
Wow.
And it's like
it did go
yeah. So you're thinking about, I just love Jesus, I'm going to get in here, but
it is too cold.
And
it
you
is too cold outside.
Yeah, so like,
I'm just dreaming.
How are we? I'm out, dude. I'm gonna watch this from the car. So how do we connect? Because the only reason anything will ever share on the internet if it's true. Like there might be a hilarious bit about whatever, but if it's not true, if truth is what's going to cause you to go, oh my goodness, I have to send this to XYZ. I got to send this to my dad.
Wow.
I got to send this to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because if you can laugh, but laughter combined with truth, if it's like, oh, because why does everyone connect with that road rage in a church parking lot?
Because you've done it.
They've all done it.
Right?
This isn't, and people think in comedy that I'm up there, they're like, how can you as a comedy, because a lot of the stuff at Catalyst was kind of irreverent, kind of.
Right.
People go, how can you just be up there just saying whatever you want? As Christians, we've got to fit into these certain boxes. I go, I'm literally doing the exact opposite. I can't say whatever I want. I can only say what you've already thought.
Well, listen, we're going to get into that a little bit in the next segment because you talked about Andy Stanley.
Yeah.
And you're going to break down why that was great and why Andy loved it, but why some people were like,
right. We'll get into it.
When we come back, John's going to talk to us about his relationship with Andy Stanley. And, from a child and the joke. We'll be back.
All right.
So you debut on the Catalyst stage.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say you're, the new Trippin' Tyler.
Well, I mean, hopefully better, but I'm not just kidding.
I was choked.
I love those guys, man. Those guys are Trippin' one of my best friends.
Saying.
Yeah.
And you come out the gate guns blazing.
I had to, dude.
And I mean, in my opinion, I just want to speak for folks because there's a lot of people listening. I loved it. I just want to be honest because I get it. Like I said, honestly, if there was going to be anybody to quote unquote take the place, I mean, there'd never be another Trippin' Top.
Right.
But if there was going to be anybody to take it to another level or just to meet where they were, they had to come out guns blazing, and you did it.
Yeah.
And the climax of that first segment was the Andy Stanley joke. And here's what was crazy. I was sitting right behind Andy.
You were, yeah.
And I said, Andy's in here. Okay. And let's just be honest.
Nervous just recounting it. I'm nervous.
But let's just be honest. I'm probably going to send it to him. He might listen. He might not.
Yeah.
But when Andy Stanley is in the room, he can not like something or just not smile. And people lose their jobs.
Right. That's what you said. You said in the recap video, he might not be here next year.
Right. But you said he loved it. And when he got on stage, he commented. Tell us about that joke. Some people don't know what the joke was. About it.
Yeah.
And tell us why Andy loved it and why some people were like, "What in the world?"
All right. So as I've been doing Christian conferences and Christian stuff. The only it's your job to reference the things that are not being said. So I've been doing it for years. So the pastor at the church I went to previously, his name was Ted, right? And he was in nothing funny about this, but there was a sex scandal that he was involved in, and he moved on as pastor. Fine. So we have the Christmas party, and I'm doing stand up at the Christmas party,
right?
And I'm like,
oh my God,
listen. But I was like, all right, this monster elephant that is in this room needs to be.
Somebody needs to release it.
Somebody needs to say it, all right? So I just say, I don't know if you guys know this, but you haven't probably seen me around church much because this guy Ted started a new church, and it was like no one talks about it. You don't even mention the guy's name.
You don't mention it.
So where I go to the closer, I go, actually, you haven't seen me around here. I've been going to Ted's, and air comes out of the room. And I go, Ted's Montana Grill. I've been going there for brunch. They got a great brunch menu, and everyone just like
they lose their mind.
Oh, lose it, dude, lose it. Yeah, because think about, I'm not like. Everybody's carrying around the shame, the whole church, because the city was, everyone that went to that church was like, oh, you go to that church, you went we didn't do it, we didn't know about it. If we would have said something. Like, we're carrying around this shame like we did it. And I was like, and I'm not making fun of being light. It's this very serious issue. But you can mention a topic. I went to Liberty University right after their president had made a joke about guns and Muslims on the campus. It was a disaster. And I'm coming there the next month, and I was like,
at the convocation, the big thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is literally my job is to reference this. Not make fun of it, not say it's okay, not say it was terrible, just say the thing that everyone's like, we shouldn't say that.
And would you say that's why people crack up so much?
Yeah, 100%. Dude, anytime I go to any church and they say, hey, we love your comedy, can you just not talk about this?
I talk about it.
That's for sure. That's number one on the list, dude. Because listen, I'm touring with Tim Hawkins right now, and we done all kind of, and we went to Salt Lake City on a tour. Yeah. And they go, hey, we have a real strong Mormon outreach here. Could you not mention Mormons? That's what they said. Yeah. And so we go after Baptists, Methodists, Catholics, every non-denominational. If you go after everybody and leave them out, that's when they feel most rejected. They would go, do one about us, do one about the thing. So like, people think that's not, you can't talk about, but it's the exact opposite. Wow. So anyway, at Catalyst, Andy was involved in this thing where people like literally no-name people, like some dude started a blog and has like 40 readers. He's like, Andy Stanley's heretical.
40 readers.
I'm like, dude, go. First of all, but if anyone thinks Andy Stanley doesn't know the Bible, you're out of your mind, dude. Right. You're out of your mind.
Right, his dad was like,
you're out of your mind, dude. You think that's the absurdity of that statement that Andy Stanley is heretical? First of all, it just was ridiculous. Yeah. So you can do two things with that. You can go out and say, hey, everybody, Andy Stanley knows the Bible. Y'all better respect him. You can do that. Yeah. Or you can make a joke about it. So what I said was, I was doing my devotions back there in the green room with all those Christian celebrities this morning. It was crazy. Jen Hatmaker walked by. She goes, oh, I love John 4. Craig Groeschel walked by. He goes, oh, I read out of the NIV too. Right. Andy Stanley walked by and goes, what is that, a Bible? Never heard of it. And
we lost our mind.
Everybody.
It was like the lunchroom. Ooh.
It was like like he just, because that was the cloud. It wasn't a cloud, but that was hot on Twitter.
That's when you made your market catalyst. Let's just
I just came out and I just said it. Yeah. And like people were like, I can't believe he said that. And Andy walked out and he goes, dude, that was the best thing. That was incredible. Wow. That was the best thing. But why? But think about why. Because that guy, everybody thinks he's dude, you know that guy cuts his own grass? Well, he's probably richer than that. He doesn't cut his own grass, but he does. No, he's a person. He gets his own gas. He does people think he
practices humility.
Andy Stanley is like and like he's like, dude, okay, I'm a human. So like the most honorable thing you could do, like I can't make fun of some of those other speakers because no one knew who they were. Wow. Isn't that, everyone knew about that thing that Andy was going through. So if you could just mention it, it's like, hey, this is a thing, then everyone would go, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's done. Now we can move forward with what we're trying to do, right?
Well, look, we got to go to a song. Yeah. When we come back, I want you to tell us why humor is important in the church. Yeah. I want you to talk about it. And then I also want you to talk about your creative process. I mean, you love it, right? And it's obvious that you're skilled at it. Hey. I'm loving it. I love the hair. I just want to say that and get a chance to say it.
It's like a scene.
You went through some different metamorphosis.
I'm trying to go for like a Seinfeld look. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for Seinfeld, dude.
We'll be back. Sitting here with JohnCrist, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in.
Lil J.
On the track. Yeah. Wankster.
Do you know, I wonder why they always say, like, okay, turn me up. Like, why didn't they do that before they start recording? Now, turn me up. Now keep it going.
Put me on the,
you should have said that before and then press record so then you could be ready.
Lil J on the track. Okay. Look, we talked about Andy Stanley. We've been talking about your journey to where you are. Why is humor important to the church? Like, why?
Well, I think every time I tell somebody I'm a comic, let's say I tell someone my parents' age I'm a comic in their 60s.
Right, and your dad's a pastor, people don't know.
Yeah, and every time, if it's a couple or something like that, they go, "Oh, you're a comedian?" And the guy would go, "Babe, remember back in college we went to that comedy club and that comedian was talking about this, right. this. This is 40 years ago.
Yeah.
This is 40 years ago, and they could remember everything that comedian talked about." And I've been in church every day of my life, and I couldn't tell you what I heard last week. That's it. True story. But some of the best.
That one online.
You can quote that one. I go to Judah Smith's church, City Church in Los Angeles. I could tell you everything about his sermon on last week because humor, he's very funny, but humor can get into you. Like Andy Stanley is brilliant at that. He's very funny. Andy Stanley has a very sharp sense of humor. I remember he came to dedicate my dad's church, which is right next to theirs in Dunwoody. Probably I was 10. And my dad was planning this church and dedicating this building. He goes, "Welcome to the Atlanta Vineyard. We're a real cool church here." And my dad made a joke. We don't have like snake handling, or we don't do any of the crazy stuff. He was making a joke. Yeah. And then he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, to help us dedicate this building, Andy Stanley's here." And Andy Stanley was a nobody at this
so
point.
nobody knew.
Nobody knew who he was.
So it wasn't like,
No one knew. He was like, no, they didn't even know who Andy Stanley was. And I'll never forget this. I was probably 10, maybe 12. Andy Stanley walks out, looks around, and goes, "I was actually here for the snakes." And it crushed. But no one knew it wasn't. Why? And I remember that. I don't remember anything about the rest of it, but I remember that. So humor, if it can, like, everybody tweets me and Instagrams and Snapchats me all the time about things they've seen that I've said. Yeah. Whether it's the sign that says "Don't cross the street," or what they were like, "Oh my goodness, John."
Papa Murphy's.
Yeah, this connects. This connects.
So funny.
I was like, "Why are we doing this? Do you got to go there, pick up your own pizza, and bake it yourself?" This doesn't make no sense.
MLK had a drink.
Yeah. So now every time you pass some Papa Murphy's, you go, "Oh, yeah, this guy." But I think some of the best preachers are the guys that have somehow connected. Even you watch Joel Osteen, he would tell right up front, he would tell a story, humor that's something funny that'll connect to people, and then he'll move on to say what he needs to say. And a lot of, even with Tripp and Tyler's work at North Point Church, I think Andy and everyone there was like, "Hey, humor works. Let's literally pay these guys to make funny stuff." So a lot of
it's been their growth engine for the church.
Absolutely. All this stuff is hilarious. So you're like, well, like my church that I used to go to had like, they have food outside, and they have coffee, and they have like trampolines, and they got all these materialistic stuff to get people in. Yeah. But then once you get them in, you can connect with the real. I told everybody, once you walk into that sanctuary, you gotta have to deal with the Holy Spirit because He's in there. You're gonna have to. So you can get them in however you want. So I would be like, maybe
you're low key a pastor. I just want.
Yeah, hey, low key.
Not high key.
Low key. But I said, do you remember that line I said? I looked around. I go, I never been to Catalyst before. Yeah. They got like cornhole up front. They got bean bags. Right. This is like a what did I say? This is like a VBS for adults. You did. Because that was like. And everybody was like, "Oh, snap, dude," because that's real.
We got a couple minutes in this segment. Tell us about the creative process, because there are pastors, children's pastors, youth leaders, and just speakers all around that are going, "What you're saying is gold." Yeah. Take us into your creative process just for like 2 minutes and tell us, how do you start crafting bits and sermons or whatever that work?
Well, I actually got a 4-part course that I like to advertise as $29.99 a month. To just get in, I'm gonna just look at some of their sermons, add some jokes in there. I'm just kidding. I think you got. It's like
the
a
rocket
price.
Company might want. It's like, come on.
I just upgrade their sermons. Right. Yeah, I think anytime like a comic, anybody, like say something that's vulnerable to you, that makes you as a pastor, they think you're like, so that joke worked with Andy because they think, say something self-depreciating or about you. Yeah. So if I'm roasting everyone else in a show, the first thing I've done is roast myself. So then he's like, okay, he's one of us. I even feel uncomfortable in a lot of ways being on the Catalyst website, like advertising come to, because I'm the voice of the people.
Right.
I'm not the celebrity back there. The comedian is the voice of the people. So I would tell a pastor all the time, I'd be like, hey, say something embarrassing about yourself. Like I was like, hey, I love Jesus, but you ever had like an unchristian thought just sneak in?
Exactly.
I was just driving to work the other day, being a responsible adult. I saw that cyclist on the side of the road. I was like, I wonder if I just like not just like, not kill him, you know what I'm saying? Not just like, give him a little bit.
Get off the road, baby.
But what that does is humanizes you to bring it to, so like if a pastor, there's a million funny stories about your kids. Like a pastor, like tell something about you backing out and hitting the mailbox, about your kid, and your kid poops somewhere, whatever it is, like this, and then humanize yourself.
Yeah.
And then so you're on the struggle. Like I was listening to a sermon one time, I was like, don't you just like, I just committed the worst sin this week. I was in a hurry at the post office, and I just real quick I had to run in. I parked in the handicap spot. I was like, that's the worst thing you're doing? I was like, come on, man, come on, dude.
Give us be real.
Okay? Yeah.
My dad. Would you say my dad just locked me in the closet?
Come on, dude. He's like, my dad is a pastor. He's, oh, my kids are just a gift from Jesus. They are. So, I'm like, Dad, last night you locked me in the garage. So I'm trying to take this guy, this preacher, and then this, and trying to merge these together. Wow. So all I would say to a pastor or a creative person, the best comedy. Louis Anderson. I'll finish with this. Louis Anderson is my favorite comic.
Please.
And people would come to his meet and greets and be crying. They'd meet him. They'd be like crying. He talks about his parents being abusive, his struggles with being overweight.
Wow.
So he puts it out, and that's what's going to connect. Like a joke, like a ride the chicken cross the road joke. It's going to be funny, but it's not going to. Oh my goodness, I got to drive 6 hours to see that guy perform because I connected on a real. So when you put yourself out there, he would making jokes about real life things, and that is what's going to make people go, oh my goodness, this guy, he's helped me with life, you know?
I got to ask you this. We're supposed to go to a song, but it's flowing. I have to ask you this. How do you, now this is a gift. How do you make a joke about something serious that's in your life? Like let's say like I got adopted at 2 months. You know, my mom's crack addict. I'm sure, but Kevin Hart does it. Right? Like, how do you, because I'm sure people are wondering, how do you do that?
For sure. So Mark Lowry is one of my favorite comics. You probably never heard of him. He's a white guy. Great, you don't listen to white comedy. Anyway, he's a Christian. He's Seinfeld. He's Seinfeld 2.0. But he tells a story about how his mom died in the hospital. He was in the hospital when his mom left the earth. Right. Him and his dad were there, and his mom, right before she died, she goes, "I think I see lights." And then she died. That's a true story. They were him and his dad were in there with his mom. I think I see lights. Then she took her last breath. It's like right.
That's heavy.
They get everything settled. They clear everything up. They walk out to the car. He get nothing. Nobody's saying a word. Right. Get into the car. Shut the door. His dad goes, "I can't believe that." She said, "I think I see lights." And then she died. He goes, "You think it was flames?" Hilarious, dude. Hilarious, bro. Hilarious. That is the best. You could not have timed a better joke than that.
But let me, can I lean into it?
Yeah, go ahead.
People think that, like, I'm already going, I mean, I cracked up at that.
Yeah.
But, like, to say it, you're almost afraid. You're like, can I say that?
Right.
Speaking to that fear a little bit.
So there's a lot of, if you look into comedy, there's a lot of, like, comedy, something went wrong in your childhood that you would be a comedian. Every comic is birthed out of a deep pain or hurt or struggle. You see, one of my favorite comics is a guy named Josh Blue. He has cerebral palsy. There's a lot of overweight comics. There's a lot of comics that are in wheelchairs. There's a lot of comics that are, nerds or outcasts or beat up. I did a comedy show with a guy that's a quadriplegic, no arms, no legs. He comes out telling a joke. He goes, Imagine, your look right now, that's what they think when I drive up at the McDonald's drive-thru.
Oh my God.
Which is like, but think about that is, so like Mark Lowry in the car, what he's saying, do you think it was flames? Or that guy, imagine you have cerebral palsy, you're 10, you're going out to recess, all the other kids are playing around, what? Why does my arm, how do you, in all seriousness, how do you, if all these other kids have healthy families and you're like, why was I
Right.
Why am I adopted?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I'm thinking I'm one of 8 kids, and it was kind of like I was always kind of like overlooked and kind of like, why I see all these other kids when their parents are like, hey, dude, my buddy Isaac's one of my best friends. Every time his mom would hang up on the phone with him, he would go, I love you. And he'd go, I love you. And I would just go, wow. Right? That never happened to me. And so you can't, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. They're all jokes, but they're not jokes. This is our way of, my buddy with cerebral palsy, he comes out and goes, hey, I have cerebral palsy, and his arm is like, it doesn't work. Right. And he goes, I have cerebral palsy, I can't control my limbs, so sorry to all the girls that I slapped on the butt on the way in. So it's basically the same thing that happened with Eminem in the last scene of 8 Mile. You see that, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a white rapper, but I
had to watch it. All right. He's got black.
So. So what he did...
So do you, by the way.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you. What he did in that last scene, which they were going to come after him for all that stuff, right? Yeah. He goes, I am white. I do live with my mom. I am in a trailer. XYZ that we should mention. Yeah. But and then the guy had nothing. The guy that was going to battle him, he was going to say all the things, but Eminem said everything about himself already. Wow. So he had nothing.
So you're saying just lean into the fear. Don't be afraid. Just say it.
Then they got nothing to say. You're like, hey, I was adopted. Like, and if you can make a joke out of it, they were like, you're like, what do you got? White parents?
My black one.
All right, so you can be like, thank you. That right there. So that right there. It's like, oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. So
everybody thinks my parents are white, but they're black. It does exist.
He was like, this is like a Compassion International 2.0 type situation. It's like, or something like that, which is like, people are like, okay, but if you're joking,
that's brilliant.
If you're joking about it, that's the sign that you've moved all the way through to the final stage of like accepting you for who you are. You're not joking at the beginning, but a comic is morbid in a lot of ways that he'll get right into the car, shut the door. You think it might have been flames. The comic will go there faster.
Almost you're saying inappropriateness is appropriate in comedy.
And what do you think that dad that had just lost his wife was sad, dejected? What do you think that joke did for him? You think it helped him? Grant, it had to have. It's so sad, and he just goes...
It lifted him.
Dude, I'll finish on this.
Okay.
I did a show in San Jose, and I get done with the show, 90-minute show. A lady comes out to the merch table, holding 6 of my DVDs, crying. And I go, what's happening? She goes, you don't understand. I have stage 4 cancer, and every minute of my day is spent thinking about this disease eating inside of my body every second of every day. And when she said that 90 minutes that I was in that show, I was free.
Wow. Listen. Woo. We got to go to a song. He's crazy. John, I mean, you're amazing. People have to know. If they don't know now, that's why I'm honored to do this podcast, because people are getting to see a side of you that they don't see. Yeah. And your comedy is birthed out of brilliance.
Thank you, man.
And I mean, God has gifted you in some amazing ways, and you're exploding right now. But it's not because we deserve it, but I think it's because of your heart and because of your compassion. And I got to go to Psalm. When we come back, you're going to talk to all artists out there and creatives and entrepreneurs that are trying to get their thing off the ground.
Yeah.
Tell us how to do it, how you did it, and we'll be back. John, we had to keep going.
We had to,
bro. That segment was powerful. We know we had to, we wanted to get good fathering.
We got to get in there. White people are sitting there. When are they going to play it? I listened to K-Love 34 minutes and I haven't played. This is long overdue. Yeah. Okay. If not the Chris Tomlin, let's get the other version in there. Yeah.
Guys, we had a cancer story. See, I practice it.
You got it. That's perfect. Yeah. You good.
One of the things you said that blessed me, man, without using Christianese, but when we were preparing for this interview, is you said, I want to talk to artists that want to come up.
Yeah.
And I want to tell them how to get their ideas off the ground and make it. It's a secret that everybody's trying to figure out. Tell us how did you do it, and how do we do it? How do we get something off the ground and get it to go viral, and get it to do, and get it to just be successful?
Well, I get a lot of emails, messages, or like, hey, I want to be a comic, right? I see what you do up there. I want to be a comedian. What do you think about this bit? So they actually typed out the bit. What do you think about this joke? And I said, I can't help you until you've done it. Right? I can't help you until you've done it. So what do you think about this idea for a video? Like, my agent is always like, well, you know, we're trying to pitch shows to Comedy Central. And he goes,
that's around the corner.
Yeah, and we had this idea for this golf show where we're going to show up on the 18th hole with a bunch of guys that have been playing all day. And I was like, all right, this is for 10 grand. This hole's for 10 grand. And then I would put in jokes with the guys swing and stuff like that. Right. So I'm pitching this whole idea, and my agent goes, I was like, do you think like Fox or do you think CMT or someone to pick this up? He goes, yeah, just do it. Just go do it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, if you believe in it, just go do it. And I was like, oh, so it's just yeah, and then do it and then show it to them. We're like, here's the thing we're gonna do. Like, they can't get on board with your vision until like you, like a lot of there's a lot of people, first of all, talking, right? The fact that you live in Atlanta, I live in LA, we're sitting in South Carolina, we got a video guy, we got 2 mics. Somebody was like, hey, let's do it. Somebody was like, all right, get in the car, get the mics, call the guy, and let's do it. Let's do it.
We went back and forth.
Yeah, we went back and forth. But a lot of people, I go back and forth with tons of people. Hey, you want to do a podcast? You want to come on my show? You want to come on? And then you were like, we didn't even know we were doing this till yesterday.
We did. I was like, all right, where you at?
You were like, I'm coming. And I was like, I respect anyone that shows up.
Wow.
If you show up, because I get all the people.
Because that's how you weed it out.
Yeah, that's how, like, if, like, I don't know about this bit. The thing about stand-up that's like, you know, if you're a guitar player, you can practice in your room for 3 years, get amazing, and then come out to the people. And you're like, this guy's, I can't. I have to do it the first time in front of everybody. And whoever you are, I've been doing stand-up for 7 years. I had a show last night that was a disaster. Not a disaster, but like it went bad.
Right.
It went bad because I had a joke that I was like, I think this is gonna work, right? But I don't know. And it didn't work. I'd be the first guy to admit when it didn't work. You gotta be like highly self-aware. So like I see a lot of comics at like open mics. They get off stage like, dude, I just crushed. I'm like, what? Who crushed, dude? I was there. I don't think it went.
I don't think you crushed.
I don't think you crushed it. I think you. No, it was a problem. But I'd be the first guy. I mean, I knew everyone on the bus. When I got back onto the bus, they were going to be railing me for that set. They're like, "Hey, what happened up there, bro?" I'm like, because I already know. Was
the room just quiet?
It wasn't. I mean, I did a bit.
It was bad.
It was bad, dude.
You don't want to say. Okay.
No, I did a bit where like I was like, I talk about going into like, we all want diversity in our churches, but we want the minorities to come to our churches. We never went to theirs.
Yeah.
I said we want the minorities to come to the white churches. We never went.
And it was too real.
Yeah, and I go, what if you went into the black church? And then it was too, and everybody's just like, it was too much. It was too much.
But hold on, that's incredible.
Yeah,
because it's true. That's truth.
Well, so everybody.
It's difficult, but
everybody in the bus was making fun of me, but they go, I mean, I respect that you did it. I respect that you went out there and did it. So let's say let's say for whatever reason this gets no views. Right. No one likes it. No one retweets it. You're like, well, we did it. And this is I did my biggest viral video at the time was the Christian Mingle Inspector. This was probably last year. It was like going into people's houses, like inspecting to make sure they're Christian. It was a stupid video. Got 6 million views, which is good. The best I'd ever had. My next one was it was for a phone app called Get Offended. So you just swipe through and be offended at everything. Yeah. It didn't even get 1 million. So it would be considered to me a major failure.
Yeah, based
and
on
I put a lot of money into that. But then the next one, the Millennial International, was 20 million.
I mean, that took off.
So what do you say about the one that failed? I say, and the same thing for, you have to, if you're done, you have to get to that to get to the next one. So I don't look at that as a failure. I look at that as this idea was in my head. I want to make this. I want to make this. I got it out, and now I could go on to the next thing. If you're thinking about anybody creative that has said anything that remarkable, he's like, if somebody would email, hey, what do you think about this? They're basically saying, do you think the crowd is going to like this? If you're putting out music, if you're putting out a sermon, do you think the crowd is going to, and if you get to that point of thinking, you're dead. This has got to be, I'm making this video for me, dude. I'm so frustrated with millennials and how they act and how that I'm making this isn't for you. This is for me. I'm looking around and I see these people 28, 29 living with their parents but still wanting to be the most fashionable but not having it. It's not creatively, just this job doesn't, and I'm just like, I look at this all day and I was like, I gotta get this out.
Wow.
So now
it's not, and you don't know if anybody's gonna like it.
If 20 people or 20 million somebody said, I'm gonna make my best content and put it out there. Once it's out there, what happens to it is none of your business. None of my business what is done with it. If it goes everywhere or if it goes nowhere, that's not on me. My job was everything up to when I pressed upload.
So what you're saying is, and then we'll go into a song and we'll be on our last segment, I'm sad. What you're basically saying is the first step to success in launching something or being successful is doing it for you.
Is for you, yeah.
And doing it.
And
continuously doing it.
So like
at some point it'll catch on.
Dude,
potentially.
This thing right here, this phone, you can do anything. Whatever creatively, you can record music, you can be a rapper, you can upload a blog, you can be a comedian, you can make videos. There's literally no barrier to creativity. If you want to be a pastor, you don't even have to have a church. You could just start posting sermons, right?
Right.
You could. You could. And so it's like people all the time have asked me, would you ever delete a tweet? Would you ever delete a video? Would you ever delete something that wasn't successful, right? So you post a joke, you think it's hilarious, no one likes it. Would you go back and delete that? I would say no, because that is giving the people the power that you made it for them.
Woo!
You didn't make it for them. If you did, you think John Mayer is sitting back in the studio going, I wonder what
they're thinking about myself.
No, dude. He's like, I'm gonna make. I told
what's
comics,
in me?
My comics are doing these like fluffy, like I did this. The first joke I ever wrote was a joke called like, I don't make fun of homeschool. To me, it was like the goodest thing that ever happened to me. That's a surface level. It's funny, but it's not.
Right.
People are not gonna drive 6 hours to hear that.
Yeah.
So comics are like, what should I write? I was like, what's
in you?
What's in here, dude? You've been adopted. Get to that. So get to that. Like, dude, I've talked about. I've been on the road for like 3 years, just like pretty much alone, and how it gets lonely, and how I've like struggled with like alcohol, and like get into there, dude, because that's gonna be like, dude, I'm
driving to South.
I need to hear that guy's story. I often talked about a time where I was in like North Dakota somewhere in a bar, and I was drinking, and I was trying to like connect with this girl, and I was in the airport, like the lowest point, and I talk about this on stage often, and I had gone through like some counseling and stuff, and my pastor goes, what do you think Jesus would think about you in that bar trying to talk to that girl?
Yeah.
And I go, well, honestly, the way I grew up was, all prim and proper, buttoned up Christianity. If you're doing something bad, I'm embarrassed of you. You're embarrassed. Don't even call yourself a Christian. Get out. You're supposed to be a leader.
Right, legalist.
And you're in here.
Legalism.
Yeah. And then my therapist changed my life. He goes, dude, Jesus would sit right down next to you and he'd go, dude, you don't think I know what it's like to be lonely, bro? Right? You don't think I know what it's like to be abandoned by my friends? Lazarus, my best friend, died in front of me. You don't think I know what it's like? And you're sad and you're lonely and you're going to alcohol and women. I get it. I could give it to you. I could provide what you need, but you're going, I get it. So you see a mom.
I'm loving you through it.
I'm in. So you see a mom out there, and she's like, someone's like, so she's sad and she's overeating. Oh, that's a bummer. Like, Jesus is not like, he's like, man, that's a bummer that she's doing that, but I get it. Or she's taking 2 pills, or she's whatever she's doing, or she's getting a DUI. It's a bummer that he's using alcohol to escape, but I get it. Life is hard. Right?
And I love you.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but he's not.
No. I mean, I think essentially what you're saying is, it's like, that's the reason he died.
Yeah.
It's because we're imperfect.
Yeah.
And we're doing our best to make it through this world, and over time, we get better.
You should. Yeah.
But in the process of getting better, we do some crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff, yes.
And he's not
he's like, hey, I'm gonna have to,
like, what are you doing? You're crazy.
Yeah, he's like
saying, I get it. I love
this
you.
need to be. And if you're lonely, this need to connect. I put that in you. Mm-hmm. If you're going to like you're trying to get it in unhealthy ways, but you got to get it. Mm-hmm. It should be for me, but you're going somewhere else. That's a bummer. But
I'm still with you.
I'm still here,
and I still love you.
That's I can't. That's too much for me, dude.
But
that's too much for me, bro.
It's when I understood for the first time that there was nothing I could do to lose the love of God. It transformed my life.
Yeah, I did. We did a mission trip in Peru, and we wanted to see Street Boys, and we were going to go evangelize to them. And the guide, he goes, "You're going to tell them about this man that came to save them and loves them. All they know about men that love them have sexually abused them. So they can't even." If I say Jesus loves you, you got to connect it with the person on earth that's loved you, right? Because you wouldn't know what love is. You're like, oh, my parents, they gave me food, gave me shelter, and then spanked me if I met. I think that's the closest. But how could you evangelize to someone who didn't even know what love was? And so often you say Jesus loves you. It's you equate that similar love to how your parents have loved you. So if they shunned you when you did something bad, you're like, this must be what love is. This must be what Jesus does. But he doesn't. And that's like you said, change your life, dude.
But so many pastors don't know that, and they haven't taught that, and which is really what I was going to talk to you about, but about the state of the church, man, and just the progression of it. Yeah. And we're coming into this new theology of understanding God's love above all. Right. And that gives us the ability to get better. Yeah. I gotta go. When we come back, it's just deep. It's just deep.
Too real, dude.
When we come back, it's our last segment. We're gonna hear about what's next for JohnCrist. Man, we love you. We'll be back. Man, this has been extremely incredible. This is our last segment, man. I want you to talk to us about what's next for JohnCrist, and I want you to talk to us about what you think is next for the church. And we were talking about, it's obvious that I'm black and you're white. Yeah. And,
I made it like what? I got kind of. You get it, dude.
You kind of both.
Yeah, right? I'm kind of like I can go both ways. You know what I'm saying?
But you made a diversity joke, and you told kind of some stories about it, and it was real. But one of the things I do, it was me and Joseph and Andy that talked about really when everything happened in Dallas, the shootings and all of that. It was us, and it was called Skin in the Game, and we had 70,000 views.
And they looked around, they're like, "Do we have any black people at this church? Go find that guy."
But it's real. I mean, you were making black jokes. Yeah. What was the joke that you just made?
I said the bit I did last night. It was because I was in a black church and they were singing that song. I'm not tired yet, and they just kept going. And I was like, I'm actually a little tired. I'm just gonna sit down. No, y'all go. Right. I know Jesus, all that. Yeah, I know, but just y'all, I'm a little tired.
But I love that because what I want to model on this show is this is the new church.
Yeah.
This
greater story, dude. Come on now. You get it, bro. Yeah. We don't want to brag, but we've heard other stories. Like, this is greater. Yeah.
This is like, but I love this, man, because this is the new church. It's like we're modeling what it looks like, a new generation where color, it exists, but it doesn't exist. Yeah. Like we're together. Yeah. What do you see happening in the church? And you have to talk about diversity, but in the church at large, as you travel, where do you see this thing going? And then again, tell us what's next for you, and we're out.
Well, you said, funny you mentioned modeling, because that's the church term for stole. So we're modeling this from Bethel. You stole it from Bethel, okay? We're modeling this from North Point. You stole it from North Point, okay? We're modeling this sermon series after Gateway. You went to Gateway on a trip and you took it back. Yeah. We're just going to model this way, And then if a pastor always gets fired, it's a transition. Okay. I'm a transition. Actually, I'm
transition to something else.
Yeah, what happened? I thought you worked in North Point. It's just transitioned. You got fired.
Let's just be honest about it. But so what do you see, man? What's next for you?
I think so, I got a video coming. We played it at Catalyst called Church Hunters.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that one, but it's basically, it's after House Hunters. It's a parody on like, a couple moves to a new city and they're, what about this house? So this is Church Hunters where it's because the church has become so overly seeker friendly that it's like, whenever I do a show that's mine, I go, look you got 1,000 people in here, but all your staff meetings and everything during the week is obsessed with the 2 people that might come in that are new. Right? So I want to make sure the great team, we're going to have our best looking people up front. We're going to have the coffee out. We're going to have everything is designed for the new person. Yeah. But yet the only time I've ever gone to a church, I was like, if you got 1,000 people in there that need to be fed and shepherded, change their lives, and they'll go out and tell their friends. And the church is obsessed with we got to have nice Wi-Fi in here. We got to have if you want a donut, go Dunkin' Donuts, dude. That's not what we're for, dude. We're for it's like everyone is obsessed with the way their building looks and the name. It's Ignite Church now. It's not First Baptist. Throw all that out and just
get back to
make sure the Holy Spirit is alive in that place, and they're going to come in and be like, we got to do something with this right now. We got to do something about this, because if we're doing is just making sure everyone feels good when they leave. One of the jokes in the video was I like that place, but it was just it was just too much. I left there feeling convicted, ugh. And a lot of comedy, why it's worked somehow is when there's an elephant in the room and somebody finally says, I go, screw it, dude, I'm saying it. Right. And everybody goes, thank you. And that's a lot of churches are you're doing them a disservice by not telling the truth. But it's hard, honestly, it's hard to tell the truth when there's so much money involved. Right? Some of these places are, dude. I to my buddy's church up in Indiana, and he's like, we gotta be honest about women in ministry. We gotta change this. We gotta have more women in ministry, more women in leadership. And all the elders are like, dude, this is real conservative type area. And he goes, I'm reading this. I can no longer not have women in leadership at this church. And he's like, he goes, we have to change. We have to. And he said it. And my buddy that works on staff there, he goes, we lost a lot of members and we lost a lot of money. We lost a lot of tithe money. Wow. So if you're I'm going up on that stage and doing that Andy Stanley joke, putting my whole
career on the line.
Slow down. Okay.
Slow down.
My catalyst career. But you're mortgaging that whole thing. All right. But I put it on the line. I put it on the line last night.
Wow.
I put it on the line every night for the truth. And I don't want to put myself up to be like this. Sometimes I just telling fart jokes.
I think what you're saying is you're trying to do the best that you can with what God has called you to do.
If I would say this to the church, I've always respect somebody that puts something on the line. Wherever you're at politically, by making fun of Donald Trump, okay, great. Everyone else is. That's I support diversity. You know who else supports diversity? Everybody. Everybody. I support equality. You know who else supports equality? Everybody. Put something on pay attention when somebody says something on the internet where they're like, this needs to be said, but I could lose money, I could lose followers, I could lose fame, I could lose influence, but this needs to be said. So when you got a lot of guys speaking up on behalf of certain topics, but I'm thinking in the back of their, they financially, they're going to benefit from this, right? They're going to benefit from saying this. This is going to, so when somebody says something that's why stand-up comedy, where I can say it in here, because everybody's like, well, we don't agree, but
it's true.
I respect him for doing that.
Well, essentially, that's what Jesus did.
Yeah. Oh,
every
dude.
time.
Yeah. People on the line every day.
Every day.
Every day.
He said what people needed to hear. Yeah. And he put something on the line.
He put it on the line. Yeah. And he's like, hey, y'all might followers, y'all might leave, but this needs to be said, and that it actually did the opposite.
It changed the world.
When I'm thinking about myself and my own story and my own struggles and alcohol and coming through rehab, and I was like, if I tell this, people are going to leave. People are going to stop following me. But every time I put something on the line, it's the opposite happens. People go, oh yeah, me too, dude. And then they connect with you. It's like, man. So, but if you, I can't imagine that let's say any pastor or someone that you think is hypocritical or not your guy. So like, say if Andy Stanley has gotten criticism, or Joel Osteen has gotten criticism, or what's the guy with the white suits that like heals people?
Benny Hinn.
Benny Hinn.
Yeah.
I have to believe, whatever you think about those people, I have to believe that when they were 13, 14, 15, they heard an honest call from God.
Yeah.
You have to, right? I don't think anybody's waking up, I'm going to deceive these people tonight. I don't think anyone thinks that.
No.
The biggest pastor or smallest pastor, I don't think any, but somewhere along the line, maybe things got off track a little bit, but I have a rule that I would never make fun of someone that if they were sitting in the front row, I wouldn't tell the joke.
Wow.
Right? So if you're going to go after, I knew Andy Stanley was right there.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah. And if you're going to tell a joke, well, I'll tell it, but if Andy's in the back, I'll tell it. But if he's there, I don't want to tell it. Then that joke needs to go.
Yeah.
But if he's like, if I'm going to tell, making fun of, I don't know, whoever, Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
You're blasting Kim Kardashian for being fake and being on it. Well, if she was in the front row, would you say that? If you would, then keep doing it. Because I've often told jokes that are like, I've told jokes about my dad.
Yeah.
But he comes and he loves them. And Andy comes and he loves it. So if you're making fun of something that, if you wouldn't say it if that person was there, then maybe that needs to go. But if other than that, I would encourage artists, whatever it is, just come on, dude. Put something on the line, dude. Yeah. And even this, like, let's say you put, like, financially, you put something on the line. You hired a video guy. You drove up here. You sacrificed your day.
You always put something on the line.
You're always going to put something on the line. And the guy that emails me, the guy that emails me, say, hey, what about this bit? What do you think it'll work? What does he put on the line? Nothing. So he doesn't have any
skin in the game,
investment either. I tell everyone, it's like, hey, what do you think about this bit? Go do it. Every city in America, there's 3 open mics tonight. You could be a stand-up comedian tonight. You can sample some tracks on the internet. You can become a rapper tonight. Right? You can become a pastor tonight. You can become a blogger, a writer tonight. So if there's anything you say to anybody creative, put something out there, dude.
That's what I'm saying. What's next for you? And we gone. I know you got a sound check in a second.
Yeah, I got to get on. What do we, we'd be on tour, JohnCristComedy.com. I mean, I just got the DVD box set that I'm selling that help people with there. It's $29.99. I'm selling it. If you related to my message that we have a prayer cloth, a number's going to come up on the screen. Just call that number. Just the Lord is leading. It's free, but it's a $50 donation. So just help. It's not help others. You know. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm probably in every city in America the rest of the year, but come out and. I don't know. I'm putting out a DVD. I got a bunch of big videos coming out next. It's gonna be real, man. And me and you, we gotta
come on.
Hey,
I'm in.
Well, I know you got a crew now, but new crew. And I'm not in the new crew, but hey, we'll get there.
Well, listen, man. You're incredible. As I said, it's an honor to be here with you. JohnCristComedy.com, is that it? Or
could you just as this gets out, just let me know who's got more views, me or Sojo's, just so I can kind of just see was it better? Yeah, we'll just see. Yeah, we'll just figure it out.
I'll let you know. You're at Catalyst soon. You're on the road.
Yeah,
you're exploding. What's the Instagram?
It's John B. Crist. It's all of them. John B. Crist on YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
MySpace?
No, not MySpace. Okay. Tinder. I'm just kidding. Christian Mingle. Yeah.
Well, listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in to A Greater Story with Sam Collier and John Crist. John will be everywhere. He's awesome. And remember, when your story connects to God's story, it leads to a greater story. We'll see you soon.